All right, good morning. It's nice to be here in Miami. We've got a fun announcement this morning that I think will provide a lot of closure, relief, and peace to victims, family members, and friends, especially when it comes to older cold cases that have been sitting on shelves for a long time. I'm joined this morning. Happy to have Senator Ana Maria Rodriguez with us here this morning, FDLE Special Agent in Charge John Vecchio, our statewide prosecutor Brad McVeigh, Danny Hall, who's the Senior Director of Operations for Othram, a company we're partnering with and we'll mention here shortly. We have Ryan Backman, who's the Founder and Executive Director of Project Cold Case, Rich Manti, who's our esteemed Special Counsel in the Office of Statewide Prosecution, a glutton for punishment, who he says he does everything from blood and guts to paper cuts. His portfolio is pretty broad. We've got James Hughes, Assistant Chief of Police for Miami-Dade Gardens. And from the Miami-Dade County Sheriff's Office, we have Director Stephanie Stoyloff. So this morning we're here to announce our new Attorney General statewide prosecution task force to go after cold cases. To make this a big initiative here in the state. Yes, we're prosecuting every case we can. We've broken records over the last year in my office, more than doubling our prosecutions on serious and violent crimes. We've reached over 400 convictions. We've arrested over 1,400 child predators. We've got serious drug crimes like fentanyl crimes are starting to plummet thanks to our tough on crime, hard prosecution approach. But we also want to remember the cases that have been lingering for, on occasion, sometimes decades. These are called cold cases. Those that watch the blogs and the podcasts and get into some of these, unsolved mystery cases will know that phrase very well. But cold cases are cases that are unsolved. Here in Florida, since 1965, we count over 21,000 unsolved murder cases. This includes nearly 900 cases of unidentified human remains and approximately 2,500 unsolved missing persons cases. Every one of these cases represents a victim. Every one of these cases represents a situation where a victim likely had family members, friends that have had to suffer and go through the torment every day, in many of these cases for decades, wondering what happened to their loved ones. There are many of these. Today, technology has advanced. Othram is leading the nation, a company that has proven success when it comes to advanced forensic DNA analysis. So many of these thousands of cases, the file does contain some physical evidence that has DNA, be it a body part, be it a piece of clothing, a hair strand, something that, back in the 70s or 80s, we probably were not able to conclusively link it to an individual, to a perpetrator. But today we have that ability. Now, these cases don't get a lot of attention in offices. Why? Well, we're busy. Here in Florida, we're putting bad guys away. We've got record crime lows because our law enforcement and our investigators, they are busy fighting the good fight every day. There's limited resources, limited time, so some of these very perplexing old cases, they get put on a shelf and they get dusty. They only get reopened where you've got a glutton for punishment prosecutor or investigator like Rich that just wants to find answers. They only get solved where occasionally, some new evidence happens to, fall on a desk by surprise. Well, here today, through this initiative, we're letting law enforcement agencies across the state and state attorneys' offices, prosecutors know we're here to help. If you have cold cases and you want to take advantage of some new analysis, new technology, we're here to work with Othram and their new skill sets, their new tools to hopefully answer questions and put some of these cases to bed. Many of these old cases, the criminal that's out there is probably no longer with us, but that doesn't matter. We still need to answer questions and, God willing, provide that closure, provide that peace to the family and friends of victims. So Othram has already proven success on a number of cases here in Florida. They've been able to close out and extrapolate DNA analysis to family members as part of a family tree to connect the new evidence or new analysis to perpetrators. We're hoping to take that to the next level. We've got several cases spanning across decades and regions here in Florida, including a series of murders that occurred in the mid-1970s with connections to both Broward and Miami-Dade counties. We will be looking at a late 2000s double homicide involving victims found in the Miami Gardens area. We'll also be looking at an early 1980s murder in the Orlando area with ties to an earlier murder. I can't give you more details right now because if there are perpetrators out there, I don't want to put them on notice. But rest assured, we are going to be investigating, and where we can, we will prosecute, and it doesn't matter if it was yesterday or 10 years ago or 40 years ago, we will prosecute to the fullest here in Florida. So thank you again for being here. We're so successful when it comes to criminal justice here in Florida because we all work together. You see cooperation like that behind me. We row in the same direction. We have the same goal, and that is to protect our families and make this the safest state we can. It's an honor every day to stand by our law enforcement, our prosecutors, our investigators that do the hard work behind the scenes, and I certainly have their back. So today we tell everybody just because a case is cold, that does not mean it's forgotten. Time does not erase the need for justice, and it does not erase our duty to pursue it. We certainly owe Florida families and victims answers, and we're not going to let time be a shield for criminals here in Florida. So we're excited to announce the Cold Case Unit. I appreciate the partnership with Othram. You'll hear a little bit today about what they do, and I appreciate law enforcement for continuing to fight the good fight, put bad guys away, and keep this a safer state. So with that, I will turn it over to Senator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General, and thank you for having me here today. Good morning, everyone, and thank you all for being here. I want to begin by thanking the Attorney General's office and our law enforcement partners, and all those who work tirelessly behind the scenes to pursue justice on behalf of victims and their families. Today's announcement is a powerful reminder that justice does not have an expiration date. Far too many families, cold cases represent unanswered questions, unhealed wounds, and a sense of justice delayed. But let me be clear, delayed does not mean denied. This new partnership represents innovation, collaboration, and an unwavering commitment to ensuring that no case is ever truly forgotten. By bringing new tools, expertise, and fresh eyes, as our Attorney General just said, to these investigations, we are giving hope to the families who have waited far too long for answers. We owe it to every victim, every family, and every community to pursue the truth no matter how much time has passed. Because justice matters, accountability matters, and closure matters. I am proud to stand with all of you today as we take another meaningful step forward in cracking open cold cases and delivering the justice that victims deserve. Thank you, and I look forward to the progress of this partnership will bring. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I should have said earlier, I want to thank the legislature. They've funded in their appropriations some pilot programs that have allowed us to show proof of concept with this technology, solve some cases, and give us the confidence to move forward in a larger statewide scale. Next, we'll hear from FDLE, Special Agent John Vecchio. John?
Good morning. My name is John Vecchio. I'm the Special Agent in charge for the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Miami Regional Operations Center. Thank you, Attorney General Uthmeier, for continuing to support our efforts to solve cold case investigations and strengthening our partnerships to help build and bring answers to victims' families. At FDLE, our agents, analysts, and forensic scientists work with the Attorney General's office and Othram to find investigative leads to complex cases. We review and analyze every piece of evidence, explore every lead, and strive to bring closure to families. Investigating cold cases means using every resource and tool available. When cases turn cold, time becomes another obstacle that our investigators must overcome. This partnership adds needed tools that get us one step closer to resolving these cases. The Attorney General's cold case team will continue to have FDLE support and expertise through our forensic labs and investigative genetic genealogy teams. While cases are being investigated, details are withheld to preserve the integrity of the investigation. The partnership between the Attorney General's office and Othram will aid cold cases which FDLE is pursuing. Some of these cases include 2 South Florida homicides that occurred in Miami-Dade County in the 1970s, a double homicide that occurred in Miami Gardens in the mid-2000s, and cold cases in the Central Florida area. The technology that Othram provides to our teams was not available 10 years ago. The Forensics Biology Special Projects Unit helps review candidate cases and prepare evidence for new and advanced DNA testing. Since 2018, investigative genetic genealogy has vetted cases to ensure that they meet the specifications associated with this type of work. FDLE is proud to partner with our law enforcement agencies and Othram to advance these unsolved cases. The advancements in forensic and investigative techniques continue to evolve. If you are a family member with the victim of a cold case, do not give up. We will continue to work through these investigations to bring you answers. We will exhaust every lead to resolve these cases. Thank you.
All right. We've got Senior Director Danny Hall from Othram.
Good morning. My name is Danny Hall. I'm the Senior Director at Othram. I'm also a native of the state of Florida. That makes this initiative particularly important to me. I'd like to start out by thanking the Attorney General and all of our partners across Florida for their leadership on this initiative. At Othram, we work alongside law enforcement every day to help solve cases that have gone unanswered for years and sometimes decades. What we've learned from this is that many of these cases were never unsolvable. The evidence was there. What was missing was the ability to interpret it. This project changes that. By combining CODIS with advanced DNA-based identity inference, investigators can now generate leads even when there is no suspect and no database. That means cases no longer have to wait for a break. We can move forward immediately. And importantly, this isn't just about solving individual cases. This is how you identify serial offenders across jurisdictions, across time, who would otherwise remain invisible. This program creates a coordinated statewide approach to applying these tools at scale, bringing consistency, speed, and new investigative leads to agencies across Florida. And behind every one of these cases, there's a family that's been waiting for answers. At Othram, we are proud to support the Florida Attorney General's Office and law enforcement agencies across the state in this effort to deliver answers and justice. Thank you very much.
All right. Project Cold Case founder Ryan Beckman.
Good morning. I want to first thank our Attorney General, our law enforcement partners, our lawmakers, our statewide prosecutors, and our public and private partners that are standing here today to recognize what far too many families already know. The complex and prolonged grief that comes with an unsolved homicide does not go away. Time alone cannot heal the pain of losing someone to a violent and unresolved act. Because for thousands of Florida families, a cold case is not a file, a number, or an episode on television. It's an empty chair at a dining room table, a birthday marked by tears instead of celebration, an open wound that never fully closes. It is questions that never stop. Who did this? Why? Will they be caught? It is a loss that changes the course of lives left behind. How do I know? Because I stand here not just as the founder of Project Cold Case, an organization dedicated to helping families of unsolved homicides, and not just as a cold case advocate committed to bridging the gaps between families, information, and law enforcement. I stand here as a grieving son and the voice of lived experience. On October 10th, 2009, I picked up my phone and saw 2 missed calls and a voicemail from a blocked number. The voicemail was from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. They were telling me there had been an emergency. Minutes later, an unmarked car with 2 plainclothes detectives pulled up to my house. They informed me that my father, Cliff Backman, had been robbed, shot, and killed earlier that day. His case remains unsolved. In the 16 years since, I have learned some things. Grief has a clear beginning, but no clear end. Time moves forward with or without you. Real homicide investigations are not like television. And as time passes, fewer people remember, while families never forget. The weight of a cold case is carried every single day, often without acknowledgement, without understanding, and without relief. But we are here today because justice delayed does not have to mean justice denied. We are here because a commitment is being made to prioritize these cases, to use every available resource, and to recognize that this work is not just good policy, it's humanity. Families are not asking for the impossible. We understand the challenges, but we also know what is possible. We know advances in technology can uncover the previously unknown. We know renewed attention can generate new leads. We know that compassion can lighten the burden we carry. And we know that when those at the top make something a priority, systems begin to change. So today matters because it tells families that they are seen. It tells them their loved ones are not forgotten. And it tells them their cases still matter. And let me leave you with this. Time may pass, but responsibility does not. And until every case is given the attention it deserves, the work is not finished. But together, we can solve cases, heal families, and hold accountable those who harm our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. It's always so inspiring when you see, people that have been victims of some great tragedies find a way to turn it into good and do something productive and use their suffering, use their experience to go out and prevent others from suffering the same harm. So thank you for being here this morning. From the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office, Stephanie Stoyloff.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Stephanie Stoyloff. I'm the Director of our Forensic and Technology Division for Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office. On behalf of Sheriff Rosie Cordero Stutz and the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office, thank you for your continued collaboration and partnership in advancing our cold case investigations. Your commitment, expertise, and willingness to work together play a critical role in bringing renewed attention and progress to these cases. We truly appreciate your dedication to seeking justice for families and their victims. That's all I have.
All right, and to round us out here, Rich Manti from our Statewide Prosecution Office.
Thank you, General, and thank you all for being here today. I do want to let everyone know I really appreciate the leap of faith that the General and his team have taken in creating this program. We're committing resources to funding testing that, while it's great, while it's beneficial, it's not free. Othram is a wonderful agency and organization with a proven track record, but they actually do work, and work needs to be funded. I want to thank the Attorney General for making sure that happens, and I hope the legislature continues to make it happen. I also want to thank our unsung, largely, heroes at labs like FDLE and labs like Miami-Dade. They do the preliminary, upfront, on-the-ground work for this sort of things. Everything that we get has to be sent to Othram. It has to start somewhere, and it starts here in Florida. I'm also proud that we're working in conjunction with the Unidentified Human Remains Project, the Left for Dead Project, with the University of South Florida and Dr. Aaron Kimmerly, who couldn't be here with us today. We've named this project Lincoln Clink. And the reason for that is that it intentionally tackles the hardest cases. It targets the multiples, it targets the serials, it targets the people who've slipped into the shadows of time and think they can hide there. There are murderers walking around among us on our streets, and we want to expose them. There are families with decades of questions, and we want to try to answer them. Our goal isn't to just take over every case, it's to be a force multiplier. We don't want things like overlapping jurisdiction, strained budgets, or lack of personnel to be the reason that we don't catch the bad guys. Instead, we want them sweating at the sign of every patrol car. We want them starting in fear at every knock at the door. And we want them to experience some of the terror that they instilled in our communities for themselves, so they can know that time is no longer their friend. If they are no longer with us, I want their spirit to feel us walking on their grave. I thank the Attorney General and his team for their vision, their willingness to be bold, and for backing this project so stoutly. As we approach National Crime Victims' Right Week, I want to thank you all for keeping the victims of those violent crimes foremost in all our thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks, Rich. Yeah, and I also want to thank the victims' advocates. There's a group of heroes out there that don't get a lot of attention, who are there, every step of the way with victims that have suffered serious abuse, as well as family members that are in great pain following, a tragic murder where their loved one is deceased. So we'll be celebrating our victims and victims advocates up in the Capitol later this month. So again, thank you to everybody for being here, being part of this great initiative. Again, we're going to keep blocking and tackling and taking down the day-to-day street-level criminals. We're going to prosecute to the fullest, but we're not going to forget these cases. We're going to dust them off. We're going to use new technology, new motivation, and hopefully find some answers. So we'll work together to solve the unsolved mysteries, and we'll pray that God keeps, providing comfort, solace, and peace to those that are still out there looking for answers and may never find them. So with that, we got time for a few questions. Yes, sir.
Thank you for taking our questions.
Don't ask me about all the DNA. So I'm not going to be able to handle it. All right.
Actually, this is about another cold case, like 30 years ago. You announced here in Miami, like a month ago, the reopening of an investigation against Raul Castro about the Brothers to the Rescue. Can you update us on the investigation? Who is handling that exactly?
Yeah, what I could say is our office is working hand in hand with the U.S. Attorney's Office down here. It is a priority where people have been victims at the hands of the Castros. There needs to be accountability. So we're working on this. Obviously, there's some larger diplomatic discussions that are ongoing, and I think President Trump and Secretary Rubio are doing a masterclass job of protecting us here in the Western Hemisphere. So we're not going to get in the way of their diplomatic goals, but we do have some unique authorities here in Florida where you have harms to people and vessels that are going on and off our shores. We do have some jurisdiction, and again, I think the people of Miami are very well aware of the Brothers to the Rescue incident where people lost their lives, and the Cuban government was taking credit for it. So we'll keep working on that. I can't share more at this time, but we take it seriously, and we will leave no stone unturned. Yes, sir.
I had two questions. One on this initiative. For the folks watching, what really changes from here on out when it comes to these cold cases? And I also wanted to ask you about a different case, as you know, the UPS shooting case, which has been really high profile here in South Florida. Your office dropped an appeal in one of the cases. Can you explain why and number 1 you plan to do with the other cases with the officers involved?
Well, let me start and talk about why what's going to change with this initiative. Well, number 1, we're now putting everybody on notice with your help that we are kind of restarting the initiative, that we are here, that we have new technology, that we have this partnership and task force that's going to be working day in and day out. We're going to be devoting resources to it. The legislature's given us a good start. We're using some grants from our office at the state level to go after some of these cases. And I think as we continue to prove this new technology works, we're able to, track DNA, evidence through family trees to catch bad guys. My hope is we'll continue to put more resources and attention into it. And this, 21,000 number of unsolved cases here in the state, that number will tick down. On the other case you mentioned, we'll have to get back to you from my office directly on that.
I have a question, but it's a different topic here. So right into the question here. Have you asked the court to keep the grand jury findings in the Hope, Florida investigation secret? And if so, why?
I don't think anybody cares about this topic any more than the liberal media. Again, there was a grand jury proceeding under Florida law. The contents thereof are confidential. That's not my choice. That is Florida law. What I can tell you is I have not been indicted. I've not been a suspect or a target. I've not been involved in any criminal activity. Nobody did anything wrong here. I think you had I think what I said in the past is a nothing burger complaint that's been politically motivated. At the end of the day, there's nothing there. I think that's been made pretty clear. And if you have any other specific questions, you'll have to go to the state attorney there. I will say Leon County is kind of like Washington, D.C. If there's any hint, any remote sense of criminal activity, like they'll indict a ham sandwich. So that hasn't happened. I think that tells you all you need to know. The media is the only one still talking about this. Here in Florida, we've broken records over the last year, putting more bad guys away than ever before, more child predators away than ever before. We're going to go after some of these old murder cases, and we're going to put more bad guys away that are still walking around presenting danger to society. So we're here to do the business, do the good Lord's work, and protect our families.
So, General, would you oppose the indictment being released, or what's your position?
It's Florida law. You need to go look at Florida statutes. Right now, it is confidential. I'm not allowed to say anything else on it. You need to ask the state attorney. And by the way, what's your name?
Jeff,
Channel 10. I mean, we're here talking about victims and some of the most, painful information. We are bringing relief and peace to victims, and you guys want to keep talking about political nonsense. So shame on you. Next question.
General, can you tell us how long it is and the cost
With Othram, we're going to have a series of different projects. We've devoted, I think, is it 300,000? 600. We're over 600,000 now. We'll continue to find funds again as we solve cases and move on to other cases. And I know the legislature, they're still working on their budget. They've had a pilot program in the past. I'm not sure what will happen going forward. Yes, sir.
Regarding the cold cases, is there any county with more concerned data on number of cases than others? Like Miami-Dade, for example, Broward?
It's really all over the state. I will tell you, some of these initial cases, it does seem like there's a larger percentage of unsolved mysteries in the Broward, Miami-Dade area, but it really does span statewide, and, we'll be focused on the worst of the worst cases where we can actually continue to save lives, where there is solid evidence present that probably just would benefit from some new technology that's never been done before. All right. Thanks, everybody. No. I think that's it.